Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're going to be going through another earnings report for the month of March. I'm going to be covering everything that I earned in that month, as well as just generally talking about some of the platforms that I use and how I find them progressing and how if there's any kind of nuances or anything going on with any of these platforms, and just keep you guys up to date. So we're going to be diving into all of that in just a quick moment after a word from my sponsor today.
A big thank you and shout out to my sponsor Cake Wallet, which is an open source, non-custodial Bitcoin and Monero wallet that also has a built-in exchange. It's available on iOS and Android.
Okay, thanks again to my sponsor. Let's take a look. So this is for March. My general stuff here. This is for my social media metrics. I don't know if it's going to make sense to put this in podcast form. I guess I'll do it anyways because a lot of this is visual, so I'm just going to be extremely descriptive as I talk about this. I'm up 1% in engagements, 2% for video views, 1% comments, 2.5% for followers, and 1% for impressions. The totals being 433,500 engagements, 1,030,000 video views, 66,000 comments, 153,000 followers. Thanks so much to everyone for getting me over that 150,000 milestone, and 22,350,000 impressions. The largest sort of gains here are for video views going up 12,000 and my followers going up 3,800, which is fantastic to see. So, you know, I'm just slowly progressing along. There's a lot going on lately. I had COVID. I got sick right after COVID. I haven't been posting as much as I'd like to. I keep saying I want to vamp things up and keep vamping things up, but you know, I've just been working on so many very technical, comprehensive things that I've been working on, like you saw with the decentralization matrix. So much work goes into doing this stuff and so much research that it takes me way longer to get videos out when I'm doing stuff like that versus like the video that I'm going to put out after this, which is talking about 7 tips to improve your security online, which is still really useful information to get. But when I'm doing stuff that's really comprehensive, like what I'm going to do for looking at all the privacy coins, or, comparing Bitcoin energy use to other things, and, where you have to really, really get into the nitty gritty. The next big thing that's coming up is my comprehensive review of all the social platforms in existence. So do stay tuned for that. I keep having to go through and look for more platforms and, evaluate them and audit them. And I still have to update everything from before. There's just so much I have to get through, but it is coming very soon. I wanted to get it out this month, but then I had all this stuff going on. So hopefully I get it out in May. So do stay tuned for that. In terms of individual platforms, as usual, my YouTube subscribers are ever so slightly chipping away, but my views are still going up, so that's good. Minds has been fine for engagement. PublishOX has been fine. Hive has been upticking a little bit, not in March, but lately it's been a little bit more active, so that's good to see. Twitter has been picking up a little bit. Now we've got Elon taking over, so that'll be really interesting to see how that starts to play out in May. But we won't see that until 2 reports from now. Read.Cash has always been great, but as I've always cautioned, it's 100% owned by one person or one small group of people. They don't even publicly share anything or post from the official account anymore. It's 100% funded by donations, and they're always giving away about $1,000 a day. I don't know how sustainable this is, but it's great. It could end any day. So, utilize it with caution. But it's 100% worth using. Hive and Read.Cash are pretty much always my top earners lately. And, it's probably going to stay that way for a very long time. LBRY has pretty much fallen off a cliff in terms of earnings. And, obviously related to that, when people are earning way less, there's a lot less people using it actively and, following along. So I haven't been growing nearly as much on LBRY. I've also been, less keen on LBRY. I've been posting less LBRY links and things like that. So, going forward, Right now, all of my buffer posts that have been pre-scheduled are YouTube and Odysee. But going forward, I do want to have a much greater focus on my Hive videos and stuff like that. The only issue with Hive videos is after 7 days, I can't earn from them. So it doesn't really make sense to be sending people back to those videos. It probably makes more sense to send them to like maybe DTube or perhaps YouTube even. I mean, it's not great. There isn't a lot of really, really great solutions for old videos that you could still earn from that are relevant to be sharing and posting to. But, you know, I'm going to be sharing tons and tons of links and trying to give as much variation for people as possible so that it's like, if you want the most decentralized link, you can go here. If you want the best performance link, you can go here and watch it here, all that kind of stuff. So you know, you've probably seen my video talking about how LBRY isn't really as decentralized as I thought it used to be, but it's still a great platform nonetheless. BitChute, I'm continuing to, you know, to keep adding those video views. So that's really good to see. Seeing it almost approach 100,000 now. I'm continuing to post there and build my following up there, along with all the other video platforms like Rumble and all that good stuff. Torum, I continue to grow on. Same with Noise.Cash and Coast.tv and Getter. Getter isn't super active, but I'm getting a lot of followers there. So, you know, I'll take it. Torum, I'm not really reporting on as avidly because, you know, it's really just, it's all ERC20 tokens that you're earning, and it's just from daily activities. It's basically like airdrops. It's not really social media earning, and it costs like 70 Torum in fees to withdraw. So I don't even have 70 Torum. So anything that I would get below that would just be completely wiped. So it's not super viable to actually earn on. Unless you're okay with just, you know, grinding away doing these kinds of like tasks. But I don't really consider that real like monetization. That's just like doing airdrops every day, basically, or earn drops. Coast.tv has been fairly good, and I get a lot of engagement there, but I would say most of it is spam. But there's occasionally some actual genuine comments. I can always tell when someone posts #1ham that they probably have at least watched the video, or they're not just like a bot, because, you know, to some degree you would have to know that I ask you to say that versus just a random bot just assuming that that's the case. Unless bots are getting way more sophisticated, who knows? But that's everything for the general breakdown of all the platforms. I don't have a lot to say. I mean, I've said a lot in the last few videos talking about social platforms and the decentralization matrix and what I think. In general, for what I recommend, it's usually just the platforms that we discuss anyways. Not so much here, but more so for my earnings. Those are the platforms that I mainly focus on. Even the platforms where I'm not really earning, like Torum and Mines and Getter and BitChute and all that stuff, I still like having backups. For me, the best way to combat censorship is mass distribution, and Torum and Hive and other status posting platforms do allow me at the very least to amplify my content, because then I can post, you know, my Hive video and my Read.Cash link, but I can share that on Torum and Mines and get more people there. So it's still a good way to get your content out there. It's just not going to earn you so much on those platforms themselves. Now we'll take a look at, nothing else has really changed for sponsors or interviews. Though I did want to start getting my interviews back up and running in April. I was like very sick for the first like 2 weeks. So I kind of just, I waited till May. So now I'm going to really be diving in and getting all my guests that I've had planned. And there's a lot of good people that I've sort of got in the backlog that I will be having on. And I think you guys will be really excited to see all the guests. So I think it'll be really good. In terms of earnings, I've decided to save some work for myself and just put the pie chart on the same as this without having the two slides and making it a little less necessary to do all that extra work when I could just do it the one time here. So this is the breakdown of how much I've earned from each of these platforms in percentage wise. So Hive obviously being the most, and then Read.Cash being the second most. And that's generally how it tends to go. They probably make up about half or even more than half of all of my earnings So, I mean, if you're only going to use a couple platforms, for me, Hive and Read.Cash are right at the top there. You can see I did get $12.89 from PublishOX. Nothing major, but PublishOX has always been fairly consistent, and it's nice because it's just something on top of your income that you can add. But, as I've always said, people ask me why I don't have it further left on the decentralization matrix. It's because they choose who can actually create. You have to be approved as a creator, and that's not very decentralized. And that's not a problem because that's just how they're doing it. But it's not that decentralized. So you got to keep that in mind. Same with like mines. I got a lot of people who were like complaining that mines should have been further left. I valued censoring financials more highly than censoring content. So the fact that mines makes you pay and KYC to get your funds out, that's more concerning to me. So, just keeping that in mind. Brave Browser earned me about $7 just from viewing ads and my creator stuff from getting donations and people viewing ads on my content. LBRY, I only earned $2.72. It's getting to be so low that I'm wondering if it's even like worth mentioning. I mean, I am earning on there. There's a chance that I could earn more if more people are watching and stuff, but generally it's pretty dismal earnings. Nothing to really write home about. It is what it is. And it seems like my earnings have been generally going down and down and down. Someone said, just because my earnings are going down isn't indicative of the platform. I've never really asserted that. This is just what I've found from posting the same thing on every platform. So it's apples to apples, and then seeing how I earn on those platforms. And LBRY has consistently been going down and down and down. Because someone could make the argument, it's like, oh, well, my LBRY earnings are going up. It's like, okay, but do you have more LBC that you're staking and supporting? Do you have more videos that you're posting than you used to post? There's so many factors that go into it. The good part about my stuff is that you can consistently track everything, and I have a very, very long track record of over 2 years of doing these reports now. So I have a lot more to refer to and, reference points, but, it is what it is. Everything that I said about LBRY is 100% accurate. It's been getting way worse, and it's probably going to continue to decline. So, because as they said, the rewards were only a temporary thing to get people on the platform and using it, but it's just not really viable, and it's not going to be sustainable. And even though Read.Cash is kind of like up in the air as to how that'll actually, if it'll still be around tomorrow or not, that is concerning. But at least Read.Cash has pretty solid earnings regularly, and I'm not complaining about the earnings going down. It's more so that the earnings are so inconsistent and unsustainable because they're going to end, and I can't really rely on that income. The whole point of tracking all this stuff, it's important to point this out, that the entire idea behind doing all these reports was to prove whether or not it was viable and then possible to actually live off of just doing content creation. Some months it was viable where I was earning like 5,000 one month. But most months I'm earning, less than 1,000, which is still better than nothing. But, the amount of time I put in, people could argue it's not really viable, but that's kind of the case for most content creators. Even with YouTube, I only earned $35 for that month, but, I've put in insane amounts of hours, over 500 videos, all that kind of stuff. It really comes down to your audience and your consistency and how you play along with the algorithm and all these different things. But LBRY has just been very, very inconsistent and unreliable, and that is what it is. Hive has been fairly reliable and earning me a decent amount. LeoFinance isn't very much, but that's included with Hive. It's just worth noting. $157 from Hive in total is fantastic, and that's going to be much, much higher for April when I do that report. Coast.tv is down a little bit, but it's still a nice little chunk of change. Coast.tv does have approvals for every single post, so fairly centralized in that regard, but I still use it. It's still worth checking out. Read.Cash and Noise.Cash, as I said, fairly reliable for earnings, fairly consistent. It's just not reliable that the platform will still be in existence, in a day from now, 2 days from now, or that they'll still be giving out rewards, because I don't know how much is left. They're not open about all that stuff, so it's hard to really know. My DTube earnings are down a little bit, which is unfortunate, but I have been posting a lot less, so it's understandable as to how that plays out. And I mean, you could kind of say that for most of these platforms, but some have dropped off so drastically, like LBRY going down to $2, that my posting less isn't really the issue there. It's more so that the platform itself is giving out just such less rewards. And based on how much I'm earning now, based on how much I was earning before, my earnings or ability to earn is down about like 90% or so. So I'm sure most people saw something similar to that. Even if you are, not seeing as big of a drop, it's unlikely that you haven't seen some drop, because they're massively scaling back all the rewards, as they publicly stated. So it only makes sense that that's exactly the result based on what they've said themselves. YouTube, I said, it's $35. So, it is what it is. It's not terrible. It's a good reference point to compare to other platforms as to what might be worth your time, right? Just using Hive and Read.Cash is way more than I would ever make from YouTube. But most of these other platforms, even added up, only just make it to what I'm making from YouTube all combined. So, do keep that in mind. Blurt, fairly dismal earnings, but I ran into a snag there where I couldn't post because I didn't have enough Blurt on the side for posting. I don't like that you have to spend Blurt for everything you do, and sometimes that leaves you with no Blurt and then you can't do anything, and that's a problem. But that'll just be for that month. Going forward, I'm sure it'll be much, much higher. And then Looper, sort of, I put it here because Looper is a social platform, but I'm earning all of this from airdrops. But they're giving out airdrops every single month. So honestly, take advantage while you can. They're giving out Terra based coins that you can instantly convert to Terra or UST and then just have that money. So it's been about $50 a month. So, really cannot complain. It's basically just free money, right? And the grand total then came to $412.68, or $321.89 in American dollars. The 412 is in Canadian dollars. And then this is just comparing to all my previous earnings, about 9.5% almost down from last month, or rather the month before, February. So, there's been quite a decline lately, but I think we're slowly going to start seeing an uptick now going forward. So do keep checking in every month and following along. But that's pretty much everything from me, you guys. I always think that there's some correlation between how the crypto market is doing and how much you can earn on these crypto platforms based on people being active on them, trying to earn themselves, searching up answers for these general questions that are crypto related or blockchain related and all that kind of stuff. But it's also because I've been posting a lot less and things of that nature as well. So, there's no perfect way to evaluate all these platforms, but a lot of times people will see these and they'll ask me, well, what platforms would you recommend? As I said, there's no perfect recommendations because it could just come down to, you only want to use a video platform. So then you might only be recommending certain platforms because you only want video, or you might only want a blogging platform or only a status platform. There's a lot of different reasons why you might use one platform or the other. But generally, if you're willing to use several platforms, I would just say use all the platforms that I share my earnings on. So PublishOX, Brave Browser, maybe LBRY, but it's you're not really going to earn much there. Hive, LeoFinance as a community on Hive, Coast.tv, Read.Cash and Noise.Cash, DTube, YouTube, if you're willing to go through all that effort. Plus, now they're withholding 30% of my YouTube earnings for tax, so can earn even less. And then Blurt and Loop. But if you can only use, like a handful of these, I would say get on Hive and Read.Cash. These are by far the best earners, and they're really, really solid platforms, and I have a great time using them. And the beauty of Hive is that you basically have everything there, so you can just use whatever works for you, like 3Speak for video, or PeakD for just blogging, or whatever you want to use, Dbuzz for status posts. You kind of have everything all in one, and you can just pick and choose where you want to spend your time. So that's everything from me. Let me know what you thought about this update. Where do you think things are going in the future? Hopefully things are going to be all earning me a lot more going forward. Let me know what platforms you're using. If there's anything that you're earning on that you don't see me talking about, I would love to hear from you guys. You might notice that I did remove a couple platforms like Yup and Bastion and Torum, again, because Torum, it's really just airdrops and like earn drops, and it's so hard to get my money out. And for the same reason that I stopped reporting on Den.social is because it's just so expensive to get your money out right now that until there's a new solution or ETH fees get solved, I'm not really going to be focused on those or reporting on them. And Yup has switched to Polygon, so there was some transition period there where I just wasn't earning anything. Now I'm starting to earn again, but there was like 2 months there where I wasn't getting anything. And it's still pretty dismal earnings now, unfortunately. Ever since they switched, it hasn't been very good for the value or the usage or the earnings, but I'm still going to test it out and keep using it and see how that goes. Bastion, there's just no easy way for me to see how much I earn in a specific time frame. So once they have that information more easily accessible, I will be reporting on that again. But I probably earned about 10 Pcoin in the last month or so, in March rather. And, that's worth, I think it was over $1, so it's like $10. So, I mean, it's nothing to scoff at. It's a decent platform. I do enjoy using Bastion. I'm waiting for them to come out with that update so that I can start reporting on it again. But yeah, that's everything for me, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if there's anything that I missed or that you think I should be reporting on, comment hashtag #1ham in the comments below, and that way I know you watched the whole video to the very end. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business. Thanks for watching. Cheers.